In 1684, a severe drought ensued throughout all of France. Many farmers went broke as their crops lay in ruin. A famine developed and spread across the kingdom. Bread, the staple amongst the poor, became very expensive, and soon only the rich were able to afford it. Thousands of peasants were dying, many in the streets, too weak to even lift their arms to beg. There was no relief in sight. I decided to use my wealth to supply bread to any and all that asked. The famine lasted an entire year. By the end, I was truly as poor as the peasants I had fed. An interest arose in forming ourselves into a religious institute. I found myself obliged to cut short my own beloved prayers and mortifications in order to address this excitement. Welcome to our first retreat. I have chosen you because of your loyalty and growing faith. By chance, you number 12, reflecting the same number as the apostles who left all things to follow Christ.
Yes, Father, and like the early Christians, we would like to take perpetual vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience.
I recommend beginning with the vows of poverty and obedience, renewable each year.
Father, what about the vow of chastity?
Please do not be in too great a hurry to propose chastity. The simple vow of obedience will bind you to the Institute as long as you're good.
Yes, of course.
Obedience is often aided by the appropriate garb. Have you come to a decision on what form yours should take, like I asked?
We have tried, but we cannot agree. We leave it to you to resolve the issues.
Upon hiring, I had given each man a new frock to wear. One very cold winter, a city official saw them shivering and suggested they wear a mantle to keep warm. The peasants all wore mantles made of a thick, warm serge material. I immediately saw the advantage of a garb that reflected the common man. I also wanted to suggest a more religious community. I decided to exchange the frock for the idea of a priest's cassock, only shorter to match the length of the mantle, with no buttons to avoid ostentation. The complete habit included the mantle and cassock, a skull cap, a broad-brimmed hat for outdoor wear, and heavy, thick-soled shoes, just like the peasants wore. It was perfect for them. It was also more than just a uniform. We also decided to leave the name schoolmaster to those who practice this profession only for gain. They chose to call themselves brothers, a name which nature gives to those who share the same blood and father on earth. As brothers, we would share the same Spirit and Father in heaven. All those in favor of making our new habit the official robe of the brothers, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All those in favor of officially changing our name to Brothers of the Christian Schools, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All those in favor of taking a private vow of obedience, renewable annually, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Good.
What kind of people
Where
are
did they
these?
come from?
They're dressed like scarecrows.
No one can tell whether they have eyes or tongues. They never speak.
They never open their eyes.
Do they have tongues?
Why did God give us sight if not to see where we are
No,
going?
they have ears, but they are deaf.
They have eyes, but they keep them shut all the time.
They have hands, but they remain motionless.
Only their feet keep moving, bearing from place to place these strange statues.
Although our new habit wasn't well received by some at first, the effect on others was instantaneous. Nearby towns and communities started contacting us, asking for our help to run their schools and supply them with teachers. Come in.
Father, the Duke of Mazarin has contacted me and wants our help to open a school in his town of Rethel. He's promised to underwrite all expense. I'm leaving to go and make the necessary arrangements.
Come in.
Father, I've been contacted by officials from Guise and Léon. They want us to help open and run their schools for the poor. I'll return as soon as I can.
Come in. Niel, you're supposed to be in Leon.
Father, here are the contracts as requested. The school is ready to open. They will need 2 brothers immediately. Father, I'm tired. I'm going home. I want to return to the General Hospice in Rouen, where I started out.
In a matter of moments, this entire expanded community was my sole responsibility. Alone again. I decided to call in the 12 principal brothers to readdress the future direction of our society. It is now time to elect one of you as superior. I, as a priest, should no longer hold this position over a brother.
But Father, we are here because of you.
We want no one but you to guide us.
The sooner you learn to govern yourselves, the better. For inevitably it will come to that. I will not live forever.
No!
Father, although against our will, your wish has been granted. We have elected Brother Henri Larue as superior.
Thanks be to God. I could now live a life of prayer and quiet, something I'd been longing to do. However, when the news reached Archbishop Letellier, he did not react favorably. He summoned me to his chambers.
This is outrageous. Why are you doing this? You, a priest and a former canon, subject to a mere lay brother? I order you to resume your position as head of the society.
Yes, Your Grace, as you wish. I was terribly disappointed. Having a brother as superior would have to wait. I immersed myself in teaching the children how to read and write. No textbooks existed in their native tongue, so I wrote this reader. The subject is manners. Well, why not teach manners at the same time as learning to read or write? Courtesy is a virtue that has reference not only to ourselves, but to our neighbors and to God. Things children should know. Modesty and refinement require that you not let your ears become full of dirt. So from time to time, you should clean them not with your fingers, but with a specially designed instrument called an ear swab. It is very rude to pick your nose with your fingers. It is even worse to put into your mouth what you have extracted from your nose. This is enough to turn the stomachs of those who have witnessed it. When in company, it is most uncouth to let gas escape your body, whether from the upper or lower part, even if this is done without noise. And it is shameful and disgusting to do so in such a way that you can be heard by others. Things everyone should know. A few years earlier, I'd been asked to go to Paris to help run a school. Archbishop Letellier expressed deep wishes that I stay in Rheims to run the schools there. I urgently fought his great reluctance. I knew only in Paris I could find the resources and contacts needed. And in order for the schools to survive, I realized I must get out from under Archbishop Letellier's controlling grasp. Finally, he gave in to the move. I took 2 brothers with me, and within a short period of time, I had to call in 2 more as we were running 3 schools at the parish of Saint-Sulpice, run by the pastor Joachim Trotti de la Chaitardie. He took great pleasure in visiting our classes, inquiring about the progress made by the students, and encouraging them by distributing small prizes.
Ah, monsieur, what a work! Where would this multitude of children be if they were not gathered here? They would be running the streets, fighting, and learning to their cost the ways of sin and evil.
He excitedly proposed a variety of new projects. He also told us about King James fleeing England and seeking refuge here in France. A loyal group of young men had followed him to protect their Catholic faith from persecution by the Protestant zealots. It was our religious community that was requested to lodge them, and it was King Louis XIV who personally honored us with that request. Father Chétardy also wanted us to start a school on Sundays for those young men occupied during the week with earning a living. In addition to the normal courses of study, he wanted us to add drawing and mathematics and geometry to the curriculum, and he wanted me to take total charge. I decided to place at the head of the school two young brothers, already gifted with considerable artistic ability. I further prepared them with studies in drafting and other skills necessitated by Father Chétardy's ideas. There was great excitement.
Father Lassalle, it's working. We have found a way to give them a taste for learning, to stimulate them to work, to give them a chance to get ahead and establish themselves in the world. The bishop will be pleased when he hears about this.
And so was I. But my pleasure was short-lived. These two young brothers became very well known and respected for their new skills. They were offered positions at paying establishments elsewhere. I pleaded with them to stay. I begged them to reconsider. I reminded them of their vows. But the lucrative world was too tempting. They left.
Seize everything! Anything we can't use, break!
Everything into the cart outside!
Take this table and the benches. This is what happens when you steal our students.
Aren't you going to take me along too?
Let's get out of here! There's nothing left worth saving.
The multitude of students who flocked into our classrooms in Paris angered some of the paid schoolmasters to the point of violence. With Father Chétardy's encouragement, I decided to fight this vandalism in court. The lawsuit lasted 3 months.
Your Honor, they are stealing our students!
Your Honor, I'm ready to close all our schools if the schoolmasters can prove that our schools are not gratuitous.
Well, monsieur, do you have any proof that the brothers, like yourselves, sell the services you render to the young?
Well, no, Your Honor, but I'm sure if given time, we can find...
Case closed.
I was shaken by this courtroom experience, renewing my concern over the fragility of the Institute. If something happened to me, would it survive? I found two brothers willing and capable of maintaining it. Brothers Nicholas Fouriard, Gabriel Drollin, and I took a secret vow of association in November 1691. I'm pleased to report that all brothers took the same vow within 3 years. In this vow, we promised God that as long as one of us still lived, we would never give up this work, even if obliged to beg for alms and live on bread alone. My presence was required at our schools outside of Paris. While I was gone, things did not fare well within the Institute. I had searched again and found two other brothers and placed them in leadership positions. One as supervisor of the novitiate, the other as acting director of the schools of Paris. Both brothers possessed solid virtue, but I'm sad to report, lacked prudence and judgment. They were too harsh with their students, and even more so with themselves. When I returned, I was immediately summoned to the Cardinal's chambers. Your Eminence.
We have signed statements telling us of the gross ill-treatment of students and the penances inflicted on them. The complaints signed by the 3 novices have been substantiated. I myself have seen the welts left by the bloody disciplining they received. Monsieur, you are no longer the superior of the brothers of the Christian schools.
We made a vow to obey you, not someone else.
The very authority which wishes to impose a stranger on us, to govern us in your place, does away with our vow.
We have the right to refuse to obey anyone other than the one we promised to obey.
If they force a new superior on us, he had better bring with him his own subjects. He will find this place empty.
The Cardinal ceded to the outcry. I continued as superior of the brothers. But something was working in the shadows, sowing seeds of discontent.
Everything is falling into place. and to prepare the way for a change of government. I want you to destroy the union between them and their superior.
I was summoned before the church superiors for a review.
The penance the brothers practice should be tailored to fit their vocation so as not to shorten their lives and diminish their reward.
Temper their austerity so that these may serve to mortify their bodies, not destroy them.
Change your practices, or the church will shut down and dissolve your institute. It is a wonder that more of you have not died.
I will collect all the disciplines and limit the practice of all types of mortification in use in our community.
Why are you doing this? The body is made spiritual through discipline and privation. It becomes light and lets the soul soar freely. The more we do for God, the more we receive from God.
God has made me understand that you should not continue the disciplines. It has been brought to my attention that some of you, through your extreme practices, are destroying your bodies and thereby affecting your teaching. You must remain strong and clear-headed if we are to accomplish our mission, the salvation of souls through education. On the day of judgment, your students will be your glory. The Paris schoolmasters, having lost their day in court, attacked again with renewed vengeance. All things replaced were repeatedly vandalized. I decided it best to move our headquarters to Saint-Yon, on the outskirts of Rouen. The place was ancient, but perfect for our needs. It was large and secluded, and with plenty of fresh air and gardens for food. No sooner had we established our new residence when we were asked to educate and board and train a number of young boys and train them in piety. Soon they were coming from all over France, including Paris. Parents struggling with problematic sons began sending them to us. Our success with these unmanageable children led to yet another special section. Confirmed criminals were consigned to us, some by the approval of their parents, some by court orders, some by decrees of Parliament, and some by letters de petit cachet, sealed orders signed by the king for the arrest of wayward people of consequence, often nobles or clergy that had to be removed from public view for a time. Our reputation was growing. Our schools were being established throughout the country. Back in Paris, things took a turn for the worst. They had already driven me out. Now they wanted to expel the remaining brothers, wiping out our very name. I decided to make a stand, realizing if I did nothing, they would plague us forever. Brothers of Paris, close your schools.
Why are the doors locked?
I heard that they are permanently closed.
What will happen to our children? Who will teach them?
Let's see if Monsieur le Chétardi can help bring them back. Yes. Father Chétardi, it is impossible for us to give our children the instruction they need if the schools are closed.
We can't afford to send them to classes of teachers who have to be
brothers are wonderful teachers. They make our children well behaved and
Our
pious.
children are starting to become unmanageable.
Father Lassalle, please, reopen the schools. I assure you that the brothers will no longer be disturbed. I promise you that I myself will see to it. I will personally call a meeting with the writing masters and have a document drawn up in their presence and certified by 2 notaries.
It worked. Brothers of Paris, open your schools. We were able to move our headquarters back to Paris. Soon after our arrival, a young man came to visit us, liked what he saw, and insisted on seeing me immediately.
Father Lassalle, I believe you can help me. I would like to start a school to educate young boys and teach them a trade.
I am pleased with your interest and enthusiasm, Monsieur Clement. I would like you to read a memorandum I've written on
I'm
the
not interested in the ordinary schools of the brothers, but I like the idea of training schoolmasters for country parishes. I would also like to establish 20 scholarships for training schoolmasters for smaller villages.
Day after day, the young man came back, showing fresh enthusiasm for the execution of his proposed project.
I will be of age in 2 years. At that time, I'm due to come into considerable wealth. Why wait? Loan me the money now. I promise to repay you.
Young people tend to live in the future and consider as already settled whatever they desire. This young man's perseverance lasted close to a year, begging me again and again to join forces with him. Then, one day, without warning, he suddenly burst into my chambers.
Father, I found a house at Saint Denis near your school. I want to purchase it for my training college for country schoolmasters.
You must get permission from the cardinal in order to proceed. This will slow him down.
Father Lassalle, the cardinal has accepted my proposal.
The young man bought the house at Saint Denis. He agreed to pay 13,000 livres.
Father Lassalle, because I am not yet 25 and of legal age, your friend, Louis Roger, has agreed to lend his name to cover the transaction. Father, I'm short of money for the down payment. Monsieur Roger told me about the donation you have just received for the establishment of a training college for teachers. I urge you to give Monsieur Roger 4,000 livres to help me make the down payment. I will repay you soon.
Although hesitant, I finally gave in and agreed to the loan. Clement had never told his father anything about this. When he found out, he accused me of having taken unfair advantage of a minor. Using his prestige as a member of the nobility of the robe, he managed to get this matter into criminal court. I asked my good friend, Monsieur Rogier, the same as who had co-signed the loan, to represent me in these proceedings. My trust was misplaced. I had given him all my original documents of proof, which were then allegedly lost. I was facing jail and caught in a quagmire of fabricated shame from which there was no escape. I had no choice. I had to leave at once. I left Brother Barthélemy in charge. In confusion and despair, I left Paris to seek solace at our country communities. I soon found that Paris was not the worst of it. Despite all my efforts wherever I went, there was a force working against me. When I finally got to Avignon, there was a packet of letters waiting for me from Brother Barthélemy. They were addressed to priest and not father, and to the Diocese of Rheims, not Diocese of Paris. Included in the package were 2 summons from the courts of Paris for my arrest. I falsely concluded my brothers in Paris had joined my enemies. I announced I would like to make visitations to all the establishments we had in this area.
Father, it is too dangerous to venture so far out because of the Camisards.
They satisfy their hatred of Catholics by shedding the blood of the Lord's ministers.
I will make the visitations. I must discern our brothers' fervor, dependence, and loyalty. I found that most were not living according to the rule. Some were not living in poverty, they were living comfortable lives. Some were being entertained nightly by local dignitaries. Some were only obeying the rules they found convenient. And some were not even wearing their habits. What had I done to cause this departure from the spiritual path? I knew I must summon my resources, and with God's guidance, call them back to the meaning of their vocation.